Hi guys, so I didn't want to respond to talk radio, especially on this issue of immigration, but sometimes it just grinds my gears the way these people react. They're not interested in actually finding a solution. They're more interested in just scapegoating certain people who have no power. This is typical of the right wing. They won't focus on who actually has power, the government, the rich, the people who are profiting from all of this. But instead, they'll focus on people who have no power, people who are crossing the sea in dinghies to arrive in the UK to improve their lives. Now, what's ironic about all of this is this commentator, Kevin O'Sullivan, who's complaining about people moving to the UK to improve their lot. Now, he's going to interview Richard Tice, who's one of the members of the Brexit Party, and they're going to complain about how much this system of asylum system is costing the UK taxpayer. Now, once again, park the idea that a Brexiteer, a member of the Brexit Party, is complaining about how much something is going to cost the UK. But let's hear what they have to say anyway.
To the Brexit.
Sorry, before we start, I promise you I'm not going to expose you to too much of this.
Party chairman and businessman Richard Tice, who's standing by to give us his comments on the shock news that Britain's broken asylum system is costing you, me, and indeed him £1 billion a year. And Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, is saying that. So that's the price of what's going on. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning to you, Kevin. Well, the truth is, Kevin, that actually this is not a shock to us in the Brexit Party. A number of us, Nigel, started in the summer.
Just a question. Why is the Brexit Party relevant anymore? The UK has left the European Union. They don't have any MPs. So why are they relevant? They don't have any platform, apart from people who actually give them a platform. They don't have any members in the European Parliament. That's gone. They don't have any MPs. They've never won a seat in the UK Parliament. So why are they continually given a platform?
I've been saying it when you and I last spoke some weeks ago. We were talking about huge numbers, hundreds of millions of pounds of the cost of keeping some 50,000 illegal asylum seekers.
Illegal asylum seekers. You know, if you're going to attempt to, engage in this type of rhetoric, you should actually know what the hell you're talking about. Illegal asylum seekers. Okay, so if somebody arrives in the UK and claims asylum, there are two possible paths. So first of all, their asylum claim is processed, and they either are given asylum or they're rejected. They're refused asylum, and then they're deported. That's it. How can someone be illegal? You arrive in the UK. It's not illegal to arrive in the UK and claim asylum. But what he's doing here is he's trying to create a wedge. He's trying to separate two groups of people who have no power. This is what the right wing do, and this is typical of the right wing commentators. People who have power will use this on every occasion. The listeners who are listening to this, they don't have any power. But people like Kevin O'Sullivan and Richard Tice are trying to convince them that their enemy is not the rich, not the business class, not the Tory government. Their enemy is these poor people who have no power, who are coming across the sea to improve their life. That's their goal. And a lot of people buy into it.
In hotels. And so it's no surprise to us, particularly when we realise that actually the government is paying vast sums to big private sector operators like Serco.
So when it comes to Test and Trace and Serco have corrupted the system, these people are absolutely quiet when it comes to that. But when it comes to asylum, Serco is a big problem. We shouldn't be spending all this money. We shouldn't be handing this money over to Serco to work as a middleman between the government and these eventual hotels or locations where these asylum seekers are waiting to be processed.
To manage this process. So we've been using that number of £1 billion for a couple of months now. And finally, what we're seeing is actually the Home Secretary once again is following our lead and finally admitting the truth. They never wanted to have this debate. They never wanted to own up to the true cost to everybody, your listeners, you and I, the British taxpayer, but that is the reality.
Apparently we have 40,000 people, at least 40,000 people, asylum system seekers stuck in the system. In other words, here, as you say, all nicely tucked up in pleasant hotels.
Notice the language he uses, tucked up in nice hotels. He's creating this atmosphere that there are these people who are treated like kings, while you, the poor, are treated like crap. And who should you be angry with? It's angry with these people who are put up in a hotel. Now, why are they being put up in a hotel? Why does he never ask, why are we putting these people up in a hotel? You notice that him or Richard Tice or Nigel Farage will never say, why are these people being put up in a hotel? Well, the reason is because these people don't want them near them. If I was to ask Kevin O'Sullivan, can I move these people into your area? You would say no. If I asked Richard Tice, can I move these people into your area? He would say no. Can we move them into these other people's area? No. So they get shifted around. And eventually nobody wants to take them. So they have to go somewhere. You can't leave them on the street because then people will complain about that as well. So they have to be put somewhere. We have all these hotels that are pretty much empty because of the pandemic. So they're put in there. Like, you're complaining about them staying in hotels, but you're not answering, well, where else can they go?
One of which hilariously has a golf course and a spa. So these people are being processed through this sluggish non-system.
Sorry to interrupt again, but why is it a sluggish non-system? It's either sluggish or it's a non-system. I don't understand how it can be both. But anyway, he's just trying to use whatever adjectives he can to convince people that, the system is also a problem here. So what's the solution? Once again, we don't hear any solutions. There are people in the hotels. What's the solution? This sluggish system, what's the solution? Well, the solution would be to invest money in it. So I'm sure Kevin would be willing to see his taxes increased so they could have a better system. Probably not. He wants his cake, but he wants to eat it at the same time. As they say here in Italy, he wants a full barrel and a drunken wife. He wants these people processed quickly, but he doesn't want to spend the money on it.
And we learned this week that Priti Patel has been blue sky thinking with her cohorts, coming up with plans like a wave machine to send the dinghies back to France, putting some sort of barrier down the channel to stop them crossing, putting them on islands, the Isle of Wight, Shetlands, Isle of Man, even the Ascension Islands. This has apparently been leaked, allegedly by the...
Things are not leaked. When it comes to the Conservative Party and the Tory government, they don't leak things. What they do is they release certain information to get a feel of the reaction from the public. How is the public going to react to this? Let's give them this information, for a better choice of words, and see how they react. Oh, the reaction is pretty negative. Then we just say, well, that was just an idea. It wasn't official policy. If the reaction is quite positive, see, we're following the ideas of the British people, we're listening to the British people, and then they go in that direction. This is a terrible way to run a government.
Foreign Office to screw up Priti and her attempts to get this system in order. My point being,
this was a system in order, but to put wave machines in the sea, to build a barrier, to move these people to islands, some islands actually on the other side of the world. Like, these people complain about, we're spending so much money on this. How about we move people to the other side of the world? That's really cheap, isn't it?
It's just one massive great mess, isn't it?
Well, look, I think we should admire creative thinking, brainstorming. That's actually how you find solutions to problems.
But these people are not interested in solutions. Kevin O'Sullivan is not interested in a solution. Richard Tice is not interested in a solution. They're interested in complaining, saying, look at who the problem is. The problem is this poor person who has no power, who's coming to take your money and your power from you, even though you have no power. Look over there. Don't look at us. Don't look at us who are profiting from all of this. Don't look at the corporations and the businesses that we have invested in that are profiting from all of this. Don't look at us who are manipulating the system in order to empower ourselves, who are convincing you that these people are the enemy, so you will vote for me and empower me.
If that's true, that's what Priti Patel has been talking about, in a sense, that's, again, what we were talking about on this show weeks and weeks ago, the idea of actually not letting the illegal immigrants into the UK, but actually...
Now he's talking about illegal immigrants. So are you talking about immigrants or are you talking about asylum seekers? Because they're two different groups of people. People arriving in the UK claiming asylum have their asylum claim processed. Somebody can immigrate, like for example, Kevin O'Sullivan's grandparents or great-grandparents, I don't know who, maybe his parents, immigrated to the UK. Do you have a problem with those people as well?
You put them on disused cruise ships or other things.
I don't know which is worse, the wave machine or the unused cruise ship. So you're going to put, during a pandemic, tens of thousands of people on board a cruise ship and what, process them there? Or process them off. And how do you identify who is an asylum seeker and who is an immigrant? Do you do you have a cruise ship for asylum seekers and one for immigrants? Like, how would this work? But you're not supposed to ask how it works. You're just supposed to say, that's a fantastic idea. They're out of sight and out of mind. But the idea of packing people on a cruise ship, we've seen the damage cruise ships have done when it comes to the pandemic. But even if there isn't a pandemic, how do you identify how do you process it? And how do you move them? As soon as people come into the country, they have to be provided with accommodation under the United Nations conventions. Putting people on a rusting cruise ship that's probably going to sink at some stage, unless it's on dry dock, I don't know. Maybe we need to get some more information from Richard Tice. I'm just going from what he's saying in this interview. There are health and safety standards that you need to respect as well. Dumping people on a sinking cruise ship doesn't respect the United Nations Convention. Now, of course, I know people like Kevin and Richard would say, well, we're just going to abandon the United Nations. We're, Fortress UK. We're Brexit Britain. We don't care about rules and regulations anymore. To hell with rules and regulation. To hell with human rights. We don't care about that. We want to unilaterally exit most of these agreements anyway. We want to turn Britain backwards. We want to go back in time. Remember when we used to rule the waves? And we didn't listen to Johnny Foreigner.
Or indeed, small islands that actually want to keep them offshore. So, we've been saying this for many, many weeks. I admire the idea of...
And how much would that cost? Can we have a breakdown? Richard, you have all these great ideas. How much does it cost to keep these people on these islands? Don't they require food, medicine, doctors to... Don't you need a system to maintain them? What he's attempting to do is try to emulate this Australian model, which has been criticized by the United Nations and Amnesty International as inhumane. But these people don't care about poor people. They don't care about foreign poor people. They don't care about British poor people. They're doing this because they want to appear tough, so it empowers them. They give the impression to their supporters, to their voters, yes, this guy is acting tough, I'm going to vote for him. It's disgusting.
Of some brainstorming. What, of course, is troubling, as you just intimated, is civil servants, sort of the metropolitan liberal civil servants who are deliberately...
I keep hearing this from these people on talk radio. The liberal civil servants. Who are they? Can you give me some names? I assume you've met these people and you've identified them as liberals. I don't know how you did that, but surely we have some names so we can identify who these people are and how they're acting under government control, but somehow outside government control. How is that possible? If somebody woke up from a coma from last year, you would assume that Jeremy Corbyn was in charge, the way these people are acting.
Leaking in order to try and undermine Priti Patel. And, she talks a good game, and it's great if she's coming up with bold, ambitious ideas. The real challenge, and I think what British taxpayers want, is actually for her to follow through on these points. It's quite...
British taxpayers want her to build wave machines. British taxpayers want her to spend huge amounts of money sending people to the other side of the world. Is this what you're talking about? Which do the British taxpayers want? Because these are completely different systems, even if you could call them systems.
Quite obvious. You can see the successful example of what they did in Australia. They prevented illegal...
And here we are. And this is the crux of the problem here. Australia is the model to use. Australia, that has been criticised by the United Nations, which has been criticised by Amnesty International in forcing people onto islands, sending out the Navy to block people from coming into Australia, forcing them out onto these islands where where human rights abuses are taking place. This is what the UK wants. It wants to unilaterally move away from international agreements like UN conventions on human rights. Well, that seems to be the case because Boris Johnson and his government are talking about breaking international law when it comes to the withdrawal agreement for Brexit. So it's not a stretch of the imagination that they would break international law when it comes to human rights. Just dump people out on an island. Someone else's problem. Doesn't matter how much this costs. It doesn't matter how much this costs us as a nation in respect to human rights. We used to be a standard for human rights. We don't care about human rights anymore. We're Brexit Britain. Close the borders. Pull up the drawbridge. Send out the gunboats. We're back to the imperial times. No one is going to tell us what to do. This is disgusting. What these people are doing is they're trying to convince the public that their enemy is not them. Their enemy is not the large companies that are screwing them over. It's not the politicians who are ignoring them, underfunding their education or their health, selling it off where they can to companies like Serco. They're trying to convince people your problem is that guy over there in that little rubber boat. He's the threat that you need to look at, not me, who's taking money from your pocket, not him over there who's undermining your rights, taking away your rights. No, it's the poor person who's in that rubber boat who's trying to make a better life for themselves. These people need to be called out. I know a lot of people don't like me talking about these things on the channel because they get as angry as I do. But I think they have to be called out because it's disgusting. And if nobody else does, then they're just going to get away with it. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?